Hi, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a fun one. I'm going to be doing the new eyeshadow tag video. I saw Kelly Gooch do this and it just looked like a good time, like a nice casual way to talk about the makeup that we already have in our collection. If that sounds like a good time to you, go ahead and settle in. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Holly and I create beauty, fashion, and self-care videos right here on YouTube. If that's your jam, consider subscribing. I'd love to have you in the family. But right now, we're going to jump into the questions. The first question is, what is your all-time favorite eyeshadow palette? And I didn't even have to think about this one because I've had it for years. I reach for it anytime I'm not sure what to do. It's also the #1 palette that I recommend to anyone looking to like dip their toe into the world of eyeshadow palettes, or especially high-end eyeshadow palettes. I think the color story is beautiful and it's something that you can use every day. So without further ado, my all-time favorite eyeshadow palette is the Anastasia Beverly Hills A Soft Glam. I know a lot of people say that this is a bridal palette, like it has a lot of colors that a makeup artist would use when you're getting married. And that may be true, but I also think these are really great colors for every day because they kind of amp up what you already naturally have. And these colors are just really great. You can do anything from like a really natural look, or you can like kind of smoke things out for like a romantic night out or like a date night. You've also got a good selection of mattes and shimmers, and I just love this palette. And I highly recommend it to everyone. So that's my all-time favorite palette. Prompt number 2. New favorite. I'm going to take this as a palette that I've had that is now back into the limelight as opposed to a new purchase, which is another way you could answer this question. And the new favorite is the Natasha Denona Glam palette. I bought this in April 2021, so I haven't had it for too terribly long, not even a year yet. But I already had the mini glam, and then I had another a very similar palette that we'll talk about later. And so it almost felt like this palette was a little bit redundant because it has a lot of the same tones as the mini glam, obviously. So I was like, oh man, did I waste my money purchasing this palette? Because, you know, it's $65. But I've been playing with this more and more recently and just dabbling in all the different colors, and altogether, I am still glad that I purchased this, and it's a current favorite of mine. I just love playing with this on just an everyday. Okay, question number 3. What palette do you keep for the memories? And I guess this means like a palette that you have that you don't use, that you still hold on to because you are attached to it. And I'm just not a very nostalgic person. I don't get attached to things. I also try to keep my collection very minimal, so I don't actually have a palette that I'm holding on to because once I stop using it and it doesn't serve a purpose for me anymore, then it's out of my collection. So yeah, that's probably not what you were expecting to hear, but that's the truth. So we're just going to move on to the next question. We're going to talk about my most underrated palette. And now this palette, it's kind of an older palette, and I'm surprised more people aren't talking about it still because the first Identity palette was talked about for years. Like everybody loved the Persona Identity 1 palette, so much so that it was just really hard to get a hold of. And then they released the Identity 2 palette, and I just think it's so underrated. Like, I'm sure people talked about it when it first came out, but I'm just surprised people aren't talking about it more. Now, I know that this is very colorful and it looks very scary. And for me, it seemed very scary at first. I got this through like BoxyCharm, so I got it for like a really great steal because I wouldn't normally pay full price for something this colorful. But I have to say that if this scares you, don't let it, because the formula is so easy to work with. It blends out nice, and the colors are definitely not as scary once you blend them out as they are in the pan. Like this green color, I love. Like you look at that, And see, it doesn't look quite as bright as it does in the pan. But when you swatch it and you blend it, look, it just becomes so much more usable. And all of these bright colors are that way. It also has a really great selection of mattes that you can use to like build your look. So that you don't have to reach into any other palettes to complete your eye look. It decided to close, so we're moving on to the next question. The next one is not a favorite, but I can't get rid of it. Again, I'm not really into keeping things that I don't use. However, I do have an eyeshadow palette that I have yet to declutter, and that is the Rowan 1111 palette. Now, I do really enjoy this formula. It's kind of like this flaky situation here. However, it's just the colors that don't work for me. I might try to see if I can do something with it that I like before I do my declutter this summer, but it's not looking good. It's not looking good for the Rowan 1111. I do want to maybe try the new gold one that they have, and that looks really nice. So the next question is a favorite collab palette, and unfortunately, I don't have one for this either because I'm just not really into that. Like, I haven't found a collection that's been created by an influencer or by Disney or like some other company like Chipotle or something like that that has compelled me to want to purchase it. So I don't have any collab palettes. I will say I was close to trying to order the ColourPop collab that Rob Beauty Christie did, even though I'm not a ColourPop person, just because I really liked the colors that she put together, but I wasn't able to get my hands on it. So I do not have any collab palettes. Okay, let's keep it moving since I probably disappointed you with the collab response. The next one is, what was your 2021 favorite? And if you've seen my ranking of my palettes, then you know which palette is my favorite. It is a BoxyCharm exclusive, so you can't get it, but it is this one from Natasha Denona. It's Ayana, I think is the name of it. I really love the colors in here. It's got a great variety. The pans are really big. You don't need to pull from any other palettes to be able to get a good look. You've got some nice mattes. You can darken things up. We've got some shimmers going on. I absolutely love this palette. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the palette you didn't expect to love. And this was another easy response for me. A couple years ago, I did a brand review of Ilia where I got all the different products and I wrote a really comprehensive review about what I thought about the brand. And this was back like when clean beauty was kind of new. And I just went into this thinking that this clean beauty eyeshadow is going to be terrible, right? Because they were back then. Clean beauty eyeshadow has come a long way, and this Ilia formula is just beautiful. I have the cool tone variation, and this is just a simple palette. It's rather compact and it has a large mirror in it, so it's really great for traveling, and I still use this all the time, and it is probably the best clean eyeshadow formula that I've ever tried. But even outside of the clean market, it's just really great. The formula is great, the colors are great, the size of the palette is great, the large mirror is great, and I didn't think I was gonna like it, but I do. I love it. The next prompt reminds me of like the little Inside Out. I can see the little characters dancing around. Which palette sparks joy? This palette that brings me so much joy is one of those palettes that would never have been on my radar. It's just not from a brand that I typically shop from, but I saw Hannah Louise post and swatch some colors from it, and I fell in love and I ordered it that day. And it is the Flower Beauty Jungle Lights palette. Look at this. The colors, they're so fun and so happy, and it's like chunky and metallic and so fun. it definitely lights me up when I see it, and I'm filled with joy. And it was $18. It's so affordable. Go to Ulta, pick yourself up this palette because you'll enjoy it. Now that we are filled with joy from the Jungle Lights palette, we're going to talk about my newest palette. And if you didn't know, I'm doing a low buy right now, so I'm not going around buying palettes because I just have more than anyone can use. So my last purchase was actually the Rose Quartz palette. I actually got this during the last Sephora 20% off sale. It looked like something that would be fun to add to my collection. It's just got a lot of pinks and purples, and we got a lot of those like fun texture shades. I haven't used this as much as I would like. I think I'll probably dip more into this during like spring and summer when I'm more interested in like the pink and purpley colors. Now the last tag, what is the first palette you used in 2022? And I've been using a lot of like one and done eyeshadows, like creams and then like pencils. So it was a little bit before I actually cracked open a palette, and it was the Charlotte Tilbury. This has got a really long name. Luxury Palette of Pearls in Celestial Pearl. And I just like that this is a really easy way to add shimmer to the eye. There aren't any mattes in here, so you do need to use like a matte first, and then you can apply one of these, or you could just do one of these by themselves, or you can use all four. But it's just something easy. Just throw on some shimmer and on your way. Okay, so those were all the tag questions. I'm going to leave the list of questions in the description box. That way you can answer the questions if you're interested. Of course, I'm going to leave links to all these products as well. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It would really help me as I try to grow my channel. And until next time, bye.